The Celestial Empire, or Points and Pickings of Information about China and the Chinese, by George Mogridge. Chapter 13, Danes Island and Other Places. Were I to say even but a little on each of the islands in the Canton River, I might make up a book with my descriptions, but a book on the Canton River Islands would answer neither your purpose nor mine. Above Macau roads on the west side of the passage are the 9 islands presenting some peculiarities. Chuen Pi, Anungoi, Tai Kok Tau, North and South Wan Tang, Tai Hu Tau or Tiger Island, which is very mountainous, Danes Island, and French Island have also many points of attraction, and the same remarks may be made of the islands which present themselves on entering the port of Canton, called by the Europeans the Ladrone Islands, and by the natives Lo Man Shan, the old 10,000 hills. Europeans call them the Ladrones because at different periods of Chinese history they have been infested with pirates. Ladrone is a rogue or thief. I wish, however, to dwell for a short time on some of the points of Danes Island. Chinamen will, perhaps, behave themselves better in future to foreigners than they have hitherto done. If a stranger manifested a little curiosity some time back, venturing among the long tails, he was tolerably sure to get hustled if not pelted with mud and stones, though he might certainly venture to walk abroad on a part of Whampoa on Danes Island without molestation, and witness much of Chinese manners and customs. The latter place is beautifully diversified with hills and valleys, many of the hills having an interest attached to them by the fir trees and great number of tombs erected on their sides. These tombs press on the mind of the foreign spectator the reflection, whatever land our feet may tread, our life is but a spider's thread. In Danes Island, which is about 1.5 miles long and 1 mile broad, there are flats or terraces, one above another, to which you ascend by rude steps, not very easy to climb, and here you see cultivation carried on to a great extent. I never could see a broad-faced, thin-chinned labourer stripped to his waist, with his umbrella-like hat on his head, at plough with his buffalo, guiding the animal with a long bamboo, or at work with his mattock, rake, or fork, without wandering in my mind to the country scenes of my native land. The chin-chin of the Chinese labourer reminded me of the good morning of the English countryman, though the rice and cotton grounds, the mean houses of half-burned blue brick, and the pagodas were but a poor substitute for the cornfields, the cottages, the village spires of old England. The mode of raising water by 2 men holding between them a bucket suspended by strings or cords has been in use from ancient times. The bucket is filled by being lowered into the water and raised by pulling the cords. It is then, with a sudden jerk, emptied into the head of the canal formed to receive it, or into the field it is intended to irrigate. He shall pour water out of his buckets, says Holy Scripture, in the book of Numbers, and his seed will be in many waters. Another machine, much in use, is similar to our chain pump. A series of movable, flat boards are placed across the inclined trough in which they move, thus performing the part of buckets in raising the water. The flat boards in the trough are kept in motion either by a buffalo yoked to a horizontal wheel or by men who, while they hold a fixed rail or beam with their hands, give a rotatory motion with their feet to the wheel at the upper part of the trough, round which the flat boards revolve. A smaller machine of the same kind, worked by the hand, is in general use. In the book of Deuteronomy, it is said of the land of Egypt, where thou sowest thy seed and waterest it with thy foot as a garden of herbs. So that a mode similar to this was, no doubt, in use among the children of Israel in their captivity. The large bamboo wheel is a curious and ingenious piece of machinery used in rivers. It is turned by the force of the stream, and the hollow bamboos attached to it, stopped up at one end and open at the other, fill themselves with water at the bottom of the wheel and empty themselves into a trough at the top of it. So when a peasant to his garden brings soft riddles of water from the bubbling springs and calls the floods from high to bless his powers and feed with pregnant streams his plants and flowers, soon as he clears whate'er their passage stayed and marks the future torrents with his spade, swift over the rolling pebbles down the hills, louder and louder purl the falling riddles, before him scattering they prevent his pains, and shine in mazy wanderings o'er the plain. There are 3 good landing places on Danes Island. The upper one is at the watering place, the middle one is at a rocky point half a mile from the former, and the lower one, which is the most used, leading to both the villages on the island, is formed of granite blocks, having no cement but their own weight to keep them together. The roads are about 2 feet or a little less broad. If the people used either coaches, wagons, carts, horses, or wheelbarrows, they would find themselves not a little incommoded. There is nothing in the paths, for such they may be called, of Danes Island that would remind you of an English turnpike road. It is an odd circumstance, but if a Chinese buffalo be ever so quietly and industriously at work, drawing the plough, the moment an European approaches, he becomes restive, and either makes a push towards him with his horns, or sets off like a mad thing across the grounds. Buffalo, plough, and driver all go together, the latter to overtake and to bring back the former. But, cowardly as most of the buffaloes are, the rough and wild-looking Chinese dogs outstrip them in their flight. After a while, they will be more accustomed to foreigners and acquire more courage. When the plough-drawing buffalo scampers off, scared by the sight of a foreigner, the long-tailed Chinese laborer is not usually in his best temper, but I must question if a Somersetshire farmer would behave better than he under the same circumstances. The boats visiting Danes Island give a life to the scene, and the strange dresses of the boatmen are full of interest. Some Chinese boatmen wear jackets composed of leaves. You have no doubt seen the wild figure of Robinson Crusoe, such as he was in his goatskin dress on his own island. His appearance was rather romantic, but it was not to be compared with that of a crew of Chinese boatmen dressed up in their uncouth jackets of long and narrow dried leaves. These leaves, fastened only at one end, lay over each other like the tiles or slates on a roof. You may fancy, then, when the gusty wind blows, what outlandish creatures they look like, with their broad umbrella hats, and with their leaf jackets fluttering in all directions. Almost might a stranger suppose they were about to take wing. The women on the island are short, and in their complexion chalky, with jet black hair, white teeth, and queer, funny-looking eyes. Some, but not many of them, though poor, have the small and distorted feet of the richer Chinese. Most of them dress like the Tanka boat women in a sort of loose chemise and trousers, while a few are habited in wide-sleeved flowing robes. The hobble of the short-footed fair is very sad. The more respectable women are shy in meeting foreigners, though when apparently unobserved they manifest the curiosity of the sex by a side glance, or even by turning round to survey the barbarian who has passed them, yet will they, if it be possible, avoid encountering him face to face. If it be difficult to understand the character of Chinamen, it is still more so to comprehend the character of China women. So few are the opportunities they afford a foreigner of making his observations. The women at Danes Island and Whampoa are not to be regarded as specimens of the Chinese ladies of Pekin, yet are both modest. The reason why foreign women have not been allowed to enter China is said by some to be that a Chinese prediction foretold that China would be conquered by a woman. There was also said to be a prediction at Bhurtpore that it would be overcome by a crocodile. Queen Victoria is now thought to be the woman who conquered China, and Lord Combermere crocodile, the crocodile who was to conquer Bhurtpore. If you had seen what a lively appearance the unexpected presence of a few ladies gave to Whampoa, it would have surprised you. They not only went to Whampoa, but visited Canton, as it was understood that the families of foreigners should be permitted to reside in such ports as were open to trade. Whampoa was all alive. Visiting, cheerfulness and gaiety was the order of the day and night, and when they left the place, it was though a sunbeam had been withdrawn. In the neighborhood of the islands, in the Canton River, duck eggs are hatched in the duck boats by the heat of ovens or of dung in amazing quantities. You would like to see a Chinese duck boat. Fancy to yourselves, fastened on each side the boat a little above the water, a long platform 18 or 20 feet wide with a raised border half a foot high or more. Fancy that 800 or 1,000 ducks are running about for chow chow or food on one of the islands near which the boat lies. No sooner does the sun set than at the sound of a shrill whistle the ducks come waddling along with as much haste as if the hindmost had something to fear. They make the best of their way to the water's edge and up the board that is let down from the bow of the boat, filing off right and left to the two platforms with the regularity of soldiers, waddling, fluttering, and quaking with all their might. Sometimes the men hasten them on with long canes, though they are usually nimble enough of themselves. In this way, hundreds of thousands of ducks are bred and brought up on the river.